At 22:17 local time, 3 B-1B Lancers were pushing north across the Persian Gulf toward Kharg Island, the single facility responsible for 90% of Iran's crude oil exports, a target the coalition had deliberately left untouched for 2 weeks, while systematically dismantling everything else. Because there's a difference between winning a war and setting the global economy on fire, and the people planning this strike understood that difference precisely. The approach had been clean for over an hour, bomb solutions tracking tight, single-digit accuracy, until the weapons officer inside Packer 61 watched his predicted impact points begin drifting across his display. 1 meter, then 3, then 7. And when he recycled the alignment, it came back at 12 meters and widening, which on most targets is a rounding error, but on Kharg Island means a 500-pound bomb goes through the wall of a crude oil storage tank instead of the cruise missile bunker sitting 12 feet beside it. So he pulled up the electronic warfare display and found what he already suspected: GPS jamming, radiating from somewhere on the island's northern shore, strong enough to corrupt every satellite-guided weapon in the formation, and getting stronger with every mile they closed. 9 minutes to release. The strike lead pushed the Black Aces forward. 2 FA-18 Super Hornets from VFA-41 already flying escort. Find the jammer, destroy it before the bombers arrive, and the lead pilot rolled in with a GPS-guided small-diameter bomb that tracked its corrupted coordinates faithfully and missed by 15 meters because the jammer was degrading the exact weapon aimed at killing it. So he came around lower, descended through 12,000 feet, painted the building with a laser, scored a direct hit, watched the signal drop by half, and then watched it keep transmitting because the source wasn't in the building. It was in a hardened basement underneath it, untouchable. And before anyone could solve that problem, the defensive systems officer cut across the radio to report search radar, bearing 345 PRF, matching the Kavash acquisition radar for Iran's MERSAD surface-to-air missile system, a domestically rebuilt version of the original American Hawk missile assembled under decades of sanctions, and 30 seconds later it went from watching to aiming. Fire control radar illuminating 3 B-1s that have the collective radar cross-section of a minivan with the high beams on. The EA-18G Growler orbiting 40 miles west caught that emission in under a second and flooded the frequency with enough jamming power to collapse the fire control solution entirely. So, the MERSAD commander switched to his electro-optical backup, an infrared camera that doesn't use radio waves, that you cannot jam, that simply looks at the sky. And 4 F-101 engines at military power glow against cold upper atmosphere like lit cigarettes in a dark parking lot, which meant he didn't need radar anymore. He just needed to look up, and while that threat was developing inside Packer 61, the weapons officer cross-checked his bomb trajectories against the Hornets' assigned corridor 2 miles south and saw clear. Checked again and saw clear, not knowing the Black Aces had drifted 2 miles north while orbiting the jammer site and were now sitting directly in the bomber's corridor 30 seconds from release. Link 16 updating every 12 seconds while the situation changed every 3. And when Packer 61 called, cleared hot and dropped 12 GBU-38s. The updated positions populated 3 seconds later, showing 2 blue triangles at 12,000 feet directly beneath the falling weapons. And the weapons officer's voice on the radio carried a frequency that the lead Black Ace pilot processed before he processed the words, pulling 6 Gs hard south as 12 500-pound bombs arced through the airspace the Hornets had occupied 4 seconds earlier. 4 seconds separating a deconfliction error from a friendly fire incident that would have cost 2 crews and 2 $70 million aircraft. With the fighters scattered south and the jammer still transmitting, the weapons officer programmed 2 aim points into a single JASSM, the MERSAD launcher and the communications facility intelligence flagged as the jammer's real location. And Packer 61 released 2,200 pounds of cruise missile that dropped to wave-top height and disappeared, flying 50 feet above the Gulf on inertial guidance with no GPS signal and no radar emissions, threading between coastal surveillance stations at just under the speed of sound, until its infrared seeker activated 12 kilometers out and found the MERSAD launcher's thermal signature. And the MERSAD commander, who was scanning the sky for high-altitude bombers, never saw it coming from the south at wave-top height. The warhead impacting 3 seconds after acquisition and triggering a chain of secondaries that lit the northern slope like a stadium. American technology rebuilt by the country America sold it to. Destroyed by the people who designed the original. The SAM was gone, and the jamming died with it. But the MERSAD commander had transmitted a precise targeting data burst 60 seconds before impact, handing altitude, heading, speed, and formation spacing to 2 Shilka anti-aircraft batteries flanking the central tank farm. Batteries positioned so close to the crude oil storage that any bomb aimed at the guns risked igniting everything behind them, which meant the crews of Packer 62 and Packer 63 flew their entire release sequences through accurate 23mm fire. They were not permitted to suppress. 18 seconds of straight and level flight per pass. No evasive maneuvering. No altitude changes, because any deviation disrupts the computer calculating multiple simultaneous drop trajectories, tracers bracketing the airframe close enough to rattle the fuselage, while the weapons officers watched their release sequences tick down and held course. And when the Black Aces finally caught the 2 patrol boats that had broken for the supertanker loading channel, the lead pilot descended to 12,000 feet to get reliable infrared tracking on targets that small, which put him inside the Shilka envelope, flying straight lines through accurate fire, while holding a laser designator on a 4-meter hull bouncing through its own wake at 35 knots, 1 flinch away from losing the designation and sending a 500-pound bomb stupid into the Gulf. And he held the laser and both boats were destroyed, and on the targeting pod's final sweep, the propellant fire from the MERSAD hillside had reached the containment berm and stopped. The concrete-held 30 million barrels of crude sat intact and undamaged. And 500 meters southeast, USS Bataan was making 20 knots into the Gulf with 2,200 Marines aboard, because 1 GPS jammer in 1 hardened basement had nearly pulled an entire coalition strike package apart at the seams. And the people climbing out of those cockpits would be thinking about that for a long time.